With its power loss protection, affordability, and performance, the SP920 from ADATA makes upgrading to an SSD remarkably safe and simple. So the Graphite 230T appears on first glance to be Corsair's response to the cheap, bold-looking gaming cases on the market that deliver a lot of flash but not a lot of dash. Upon further inspection, we find that that's exactly what it is. It's relatively compact and lightweight, doesn't have a ton of extra features, comes in a variety of colors, and includes orange, red, or blue LED fans, depending on the configuration you choose, as well as an aggressively shaped window and speed arrows that are strategically positioned to make it go faster. This case was extremely polarizing when it first launched, with many criticizing the looks, but I actually disagree, and I feel like Corsair has nailed their target demographic here with the look. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. But while we might normally say, okay, it's for gamers, check, and it looks cool, check, editor's choice. This is Corsair, and we hold them to a higher standard than other case makers because they ask for more money than other case makers. So we're gonna dig deeper and evaluate this case as if it's not just empty bling, and it has to deliver in terms of functionality as well. Also, I like tearing apart his creations and finding all the cost-saving compromises he made, just for the sake of giving George a headache. But before we do that, I'll need my special announcement hat. Thank you. No one's here with the special. But before I do that, I'll need my special announcement hat. Thank you. Because to celebrate Geek Pride Day, Modus is hosting their annual Geek Stakes sweepstakes and giving away some serious swag, including an MSI GS60 gaming notebook, an Oculus Rift, a Lytro camera, an AR drone, and more. It runs until June 6th, and you can find full details in the link in the video description, but it's pretty simple. Just like Modus on Facebook, fill out a brief form, and you could be drawn at random to win. You're allowed 1 entry per day, so make sure you're coming back to increase your odds. But who is Modus, you might ask, and why are they giving stuff away? Modus is a global IT staffing and recruiting company with dozens of offices worldwide that connects professionals with careers at great companies that range from small startups to Fortune 500. It costs nothing to submit a resume, and an exciting new career could be waiting for you. Check them out at modus.com. Starting at the front of this case, we've got 2 USB 3 ports, headphone and microphone jacks, and a pretty cheaply implemented power and reset switch setup that makes only one side of the power button actually pressable. Not a huge deal though. Moving down, we find 3 5¼ inch bays that for some inexplicable reason aren't actually perforated and only have what look like holes filled in with plastic. Maybe this is to keep the front bottom to top back airflow scheme in the case operating smoothly, but other than that, I'm not 100% sure. Further down, we find the included dual front 120mm LED fans, orange on this model, behind a mesh fan filter that unfortunately is actually quite difficult to remove for cleaning. You need to remove both side panels, which slide on front to back rather than back to front for some reason, then undo all 6 plastic clips individually to remove the entire front bezel. Moving on to the top of the case, we've got nowhere to put this side panel. Or what I mean to say is we've got ventilation holes with noise-isolating rubber grommets in them so they can be easily moved to support either dual 120 or 140mm fans, or even a dual 120 or dual 140mm radiator, as long as your motherboard heat sinks don't interfere with the extra thickness from the rad. Unfortunately, our Sabertooth Z87 didn't allow either of these radiator mounting options, so we went with a rear 120mm thick rad to match the fan that was already in there, but your mileage may vary. Also at the back, we've got our standard 7 PCI expansion slots with some extra ventilation holes next to them, and a bottom-mounted power supply with an easily removable fan filter that will keep dust from the air that it intakes directly from the bottom of the case. Of note is that you can install the fan either way, so we opted to leave the fan facing up. This doesn't make use of that dust filter, but it does keep the power supply safe if you plan to use the PC on a carpet, where the other orientation would result in basically zero airflow. That's an issue with any case with a bottom-mounted power supply pretty much though. Moving inside, we start to find some nice little Corsair touches. In no particular order, the motherboard standoffs are pre-installed with their signature nubbin standoff in the middle that holds the board in place while you're installing it. All the metal bends are folded over and nicely finished, so it's pretty much impossible to cut yourself while you're working in this case. All internal wires and connectors are all black down to the very ends, with the exception exception of the HD audio connector. A notable feature, by the way, at this price point, makes it look really clean inside, and the toolless 5¼ inch, 2½ inch, and 3½ inch drive mounts are all pretty well implemented. The 5¼ inch bays use a simple metal tab system. The 4 3½ inch bays each have a nice long spike that goes into the side of the drive that holds it very securely in place, and they feel surprisingly rigid, especially when you consider that the cage is actually plastic, something I don't recall having seen before. And then finally, the 4 2½ inch mounts are easy to use with a simple, slide in from the back technique. It's not perfect though, it is pretty tight as you jam it in there, but quite loose once it's installed, so if you put a hard drive in there with a slimmer than usual profile, it might wiggle around causing damage. Now go listen to the last 20 seconds or so of this video and think of penises this time. You're welcome. Ease of use aside, cable management is a bit of a sore point with the 2½ inch cage for me, since Corsair recommends you leave the SATA connectors hanging towards the video card. I know you won't see them due to the shape of the window, but I still wish they could be managed differently somehow. Other than that, cable management isn't bad. There isn't a ton of space behind the motherboard tray due to the compact case design, but anchor points on the back of the tray will help you route the 8-pin connector to the nice big hole at the top left of the motherboard tray, and the bent right-hand side gives plenty of space for your 24-pin and PCI Express cables. For everything else, you can use a combination of the space behind the motherboard tray or above the hard drive and SSD mounts to make things as tidy looking as you can. It would be easier to achieve perfection with rubber grommets in the spacious cable management holes here, but that was obviously a cost-saving omission. Speaking of holes, between the ones on the right and the bottom of the motherboard and the large CPU cutout at the back, I expected the motherboard tray to be pretty flimsy, but I was very pleasantly surprised in this regard. It's rock solid. In fact, the 230T meets or exceeds my build quality expectations, even my unreasonable Corsair ones, in every way, especially when you factor in the solid price point. It's just plain better than similarly styled blingy competitors. So at the end of the day, I guess that's what this is. It's a value case that I think will appeal to its target audience, one that delivers good if not groundbreaking features and cooling, and surprisingly, solid build quality at a fair price. It gets my better than spending your money on a really fancy steak than forgetting to cook it in time and you get a disease from eating it award for stunning excellence in the field of humdrum mediocrity. An award that I reserve for only the best products that target a given price point and achieve a compelling enough value proposition that someone looking to spend that amount of money might want to consider buying it. All of these silly award jokes aside, this is actually why I don't really review much entry-level stuff. I feel like there can't be any surprises in my conclusion about the product. The 230T is good, but it's made by Corsair. It wasn't gonna be totally stupid in the first place. It was gonna be good. I mean, because of cost constraints though, it's not like George can make the rivets out of like magnesium unicorn horn alloy. So I just feel like there isn't much to say other than it met my expectations. But you guys let me know if I'm wrong. Was this video, up until the goofiness at the end, as interesting to watch as when we cover high-end stuff? Do you just straight up want to know, like, what's a good $70 case so you can go and buy a truckload of 230Ts tomorrow? Or do you prefer that we focus on the high-end stuff that's fun eye candy but you don't necessarily intend to buy? Need your feedback, my peeps. And I guess, like, all the jokes aside from the humdrum mediocrity, actually, very solid case. Definitely a recommended buy at $70 if that's what you guys are looking for. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, share the video accordingly if you thought other people should watch it. Please share the video. Also, guys, we've got our support link in the video description along with a pricing and availability link for where to buy this case if you do want to check it out. In the support link, you can also find where to buy the cool Linus Media Group t-shirts that we make, as well as how to give us a monthly contribution so we can keep making these videos if you think that they're good. And finally, a way that you can change, really, the doorbell, whatever, I'm just going to keep going, your Amazon link in your bookmark bar to one that has our affiliate code, so whenever you buy new underwear, you can go ahead and give us a small kickback. Thanks again for watching, and as always, don't forget to subscribe.